in a small countryside village, where the air was fresh and the sky always bright, two children grew up together. Their names were Dave and Amy. They were neighbors, classmates, and best friends. From morning to night, they were always together, laughing, playing, and dreaming. They would run through the green fields, chase butterflies, and sit under the big oak tree near the river. When Dave sang, even the birds seemed to stop and listen. His voice was soft and beautiful, a gift that touched every heart. Amy loved to hear him sing. Sometimes she would close her eyes and smile as his voice filled the air. She often told him, "God gave you that voice for a reason." And he would laugh, saying, "Then maybe that reason is you." Their childhood was full of joy and light. Every Sunday they went to church with their families. They prayed, sang hymns, and talked about their dreams. Amy wanted to teach children one day. Dave wanted to sing for the world, but always promised that Amy would be beside him. As they grew older, something gentle began to change. They were no longer just children. Their eyes met differently. Their smiles lasted longer. They started to feel something deeper, something new, love. One evening, when the sun was going down and the sky was full of gold, Dave finally spoke. They were sitting under their favorite tree. He took a deep breath and said softly, "Amy, I think I've loved you since we were little." Amy's eyes filled with tears. Her voice trembled as she said, "I feel the same, Dave, I always did." From that moment, everything between them became more beautiful. They spent every Sunday at church together, hand in hand, thanking God for each other. They talked about their future, a small house, children, music, and faith. They promised to always keep God at the center of their love, but life doesn't always stay the same. One afternoon, Dave came to Amy with tears in his eyes. "My father got a new job," he said. "We're moving to the capital city next month." Amy froze. The words felt like a storm in her heart. She looked at him and whispered, "You're leaving?" He nodded, crying, "I'll call you every day. I'll come back, I promise." On his last day in the village, they met one last time under the oak tree. They didn't say much. They just held hands and looked at each other as the wind moved through the trees. Amy whispered, "God will bring us together again." Dave nodded, wiping her tears. Then he walked away, looking back one last time. And as the bus took him away, Amy stood on the dusty road, waving until he disappeared from sight. Her heart whispered, "Come back soon." After Dave moved to the capital city, life in the village felt empty. Amy still walked by the river every evening, hoping to hear his voice in the wind. Every Sunday she sat alone in the church pew where they once sat together. She prayed for him, for his dreams, for his safety, for his heart to remember her. They talked every day at first. He would call and tell her about the big city, the noise, the lights, the tall buildings. She would laugh and tell him about the fields, the rain, and the smell of fresh bread. Their love stayed strong, even through distance. Every night before sleeping, Amy whispered, "God, please protect him. Please keep him mine." But one night, everything changed. Dave had been singing at a small music event. It was late. The road was dark and rain was falling hard. On his way home, a speeding car crashed into his. There was glass, pain, and then nothing. For weeks, Amy waited for his call. She sent messages that were never answered. She cried by the window every night, whispering his name. "Dave, where are you?" But there was only silence. Then one afternoon, her phone rang. Her heart jumped. It was his number. With shaking hands, she answered, "Dave? Oh, thank God. Are you okay?" But the voice that replied was calm and strange. "I'm sorry. Who are you?" Amy froze. "It's me, Amy," she whispered. "Don't you remember me? From the village? From church?" There was a long pause. Then he said quietly, "I don't know you. I think you have the wrong person." And the line went dead. The phone slipped from her hand. Her heart broke into 1,000 pieces. She fell to her knees and cried until her voice was gone. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Amy still went to church every Sunday. She prayed, "God, If he forgot me, please don't let him forget love. Let him live. Let him find peace. Her love never turned into anger, only pain and hope. Meanwhile, far away in the city, Dave woke up each morning not knowing what was missing from his life. The doctors told him he had lost parts of his memory in the accident. He couldn't remember faces, places, or feelings from before. But sometimes, when he sang, he felt something warm, like a memory trying to come back. He didn't know that memory had a name. Amy. He started singing again, slowly. People loved his songs. They said his voice had something special, a sadness that made others cry. What they didn't know was that the sadness was real. It was a part of his soul calling out for something. Or someone he couldn't remember. And in that same moment, in a small village far away, Amy whispered the same prayer again and again. God, if he ever remembers me, let him find me once more. Years passed like the turning of pages in a book. Amy stayed in the countryside, living a quiet life. She taught small children in Sunday school and cared for her parents. But no matter how many years went by, her heart never forgot. She still wore the small silver cross necklace Dave had given her when they were young. It was her way of saying, I still believe. In the capital city, Dave's life had changed completely. Even though he had lost his memories, his gift, his voice, had not left him. He started singing again and people loved him. His songs touched hearts all over the country. He sang about love, loss, and hope, even though he didn't remember why those feelings felt so real. Soon, the name Dave Michael became famous. Posters with his face filled the city. He performed in concerts with bright lights and thousands of fans. Everyone loved him. But when the crowds cheered, he sometimes looked up and whispered to himself, why do I still feel lonely? Every night after the shows, he sat by the window, guitar in hand, humming an old tune he didn't remember writing. It was the same melody he once sang for Amy under the oak tree. His heart knew it, even if his mind didn't. Sometimes he dreamed of a girl with kind eyes and a soft smile. But when he woke up, the image faded like morning mist. One day, his father said to him, Son, we're going back to the village this weekend. The pastor invited us for a special church service. Dave smiled. Sure, it'll be nice to visit where I grew up. He didn't know that the person who prayed for him every day was still waiting there. That Sunday morning, the small countryside church was full. Everyone was excited. The famous singer Dave Michael is coming home, they whispered. Amy sat quietly in the last pew, her heart pounding. She couldn't believe it. Her Dave, the boy she loved, was returning after all these years. When he walked in with his father, the people clapped and cheered. He smiled kindly, shook hands, and greeted everyone. But Amy couldn't move. She just watched him, taller, confident, but still the same soul she had loved since childhood. Tears filled her eyes. After the service, Dave greeted everyone one by one. When Amy stood before him, her hands trembled. She whispered, Dave, it's me, Amy. He looked at her politely, confused. I'm sorry, he said softly. Have we met before? Her world fell silent. Yes, she said, voice shaking. You once promised to come back. His father turned suddenly. He remembered her. The young girl who used to wait outside their house. The one who cried when they moved away. He looked at Amy with sadness. He knew everything she had lost. Dave smiled kindly, still not knowing, but something in his heart felt strange, like a forgotten melody trying to rise again. As Amy walked away, he felt a tear on his cheek and didn't even know why. That night, as he sat in the guest room, he couldn't sleep. He took his guitar. That night, the wind outside was quiet. Dave sat alone with his guitar, playing soft notes that came from somewhere deep inside him. Each sound felt familiar, like a memory calling from far away. He closed his eyes and let the music lead him. Suddenly, he began to hum a melody. It was gentle, full of warmth and full of pain. Then words began to form, words he didn't remember writing. By the river we met, by the tree we prayed. I promised to come back, but the road took me away. When he finished, tears ran down his face. He didn't know why he was crying, only that his heart was breaking for someone he couldn't remember. The next morning, he went walking through the village. Every road, every sound felt strangely familiar. Then he saw it. The old oak tree by the river. He stopped, staring in silence. Something inside him began to move. He walked closer, touched the tree, and suddenly memories rushed back like a flood. Amy's laughter, her voice saying, "God will bring us together again." Their last hug. Her tears. He fell to his knees, holding his head as images came one after another. He remembered her face, her smile, their prayers and his promise. He whispered her name, trembling. "Amy, oh God, Amy." That Sunday he went back to the church again. Amy was there, as she always was, sitting quietly in the back. When she saw him walking in, her heart started to race. She thought he was just visiting again. But this time he walked straight to her. She stood up slowly, afraid to hope. He stopped in front of her, tears already in his eyes. For a moment he couldn't speak. Then with a shaking voice he said, "I remember." Amy froze. "What did you say?" He took her hands and smiled through his tears. "I remember you. The tree, the songs, our prayers, everything." He pulled the silver cross necklace from his pocket, the same one she had given him years ago. "I kept this all along," he said. "I just didn't know why." Amy's tears fell freely as she whispered, "I prayed for this day every night." They hugged tightly as if the world had stopped moving. For a moment nothing else existed, only the love that had waited through time, pain and silence. Later that day, Dave sang again in the church. His voice filled the air, soft, deep, and full of memory. Everyone felt the emotion in his words, but only Amy knew what each note meant. When the song ended, he looked at her and said softly, "This time I won't leave." She smiled, her eyes shining like the morning sun. And under that same roof where they had once prayed as children, their story found its way home. Proof that love, when blessed by faith, never truly dies.